I came to claim my inheritance, the millionaire laughs, until the council confirmed the truth. A 12-year-old boy in a torn shirt walks into a room of millionaires carrying only a dirty backpack and a sealed letter. They laugh at his claim. They mock his appearance. Then the council breaks the seal and reads what's inside. The laughter dies instantly because sometimes the poorest person in the room is actually the richest. And the truth always has the last word. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments what time is it and where are you watching from. Let's start. Daniel Williams was 12 years old when he learned that poverty wasn't just about empty pockets. It was about empty spaces where family should be. He lived in a cramped Detroit apartment with his mother, Margaret, a woman whose beauty had been weathered by double shifts at the diner and the weight of secrets. Margaret had raised Daniel alone since birth, never speaking about his father beyond "he's gone," and never mentioning family beyond "it's just us." They survived on tips, food stamps, and a love so fierce it almost made up for everything else. Almost. When Daniel was 10, Margaret got sick. The cough came first, then the weight loss, then the diagnosis that shattered their small world. Stage 4, lung cancer. She'd never smoked a day in her life, the doctor said, as if that made the injustice easier to swallow. It was in the hospital, during one of her final lucid moments, that Margaret finally told Daniel the truth. "My father's name was Edward Rashford," she whispered, her thin hand clutching his. "He was wealthy, baby, oil money from the Gulf. But when I fell in love with your father, a black man working construction, he gave me an ultimatum, him or the family." Daniel had felt his chest tighten. "You chose Dad." "I chose love," Margaret corrected, tears streaming down her gaunt cheeks. "And I chose you, even though your father died in an accident before you were born. My own father. He said I'd thrown my life away. We hadn't spoken in 13 years. But Daniel—" She reached under her pillow with trembling fingers, pulling out a sealed envelope with a red wax stamp. "6 months ago, a lawyer found me, told me Edward was dying, told me he'd been trying to find us for years but was too proud to hire investigators until it was too late." "Did you see him?" Daniel asked, hope and hurt warring in his voice. "No," Margaret sobbed. "I was already sick by then, and I was angry, so angry at all the years we lost. But he sent this. He said if something happened to me, I should give it to you when you were old enough. He set something up, Daniel, something to take care of you." 2 months later, Margaret Williams died with her son holding her hand, whispering that he forgave her for all the things she'd thought were failures. Daniel spent the next 2 years in foster care. The envelope stayed hidden in his battered backpack, the same backpack his mother had used for work, now stuffed with everything he owned. He moved between 3 different homes, each one a reminder that he belonged nowhere, until the morning of his 12th birthday when Daniel opened the envelope. Inside was a letter in elegant handwriting, a DNA sample in a sealed vial, an address for Wellington and Associates in New York City, and a bus ticket dated for that exact day, as if his grandfather had known somehow when he would be ready. The letter began, "My dearest Daniel, I don't know if you'll ever forgive me for choosing pride over love, but I pray you'll accept this chance I never gave your mother." Daniel had read it 17 times before boarding the bus alone, carrying everything he owned in a backpack covered in stains from his mother's diner shifts. The bus ride from Detroit to New York took 14 hours. Daniel sat in the back, clutching his backpack. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw his mother's face in that hospital bed, heard her whispered confession about the family she'd left behind. When the bus pulled into Port Authority at 6:47 a.m., Daniel had $23 in his pocket and an address: Wellington and Associates, 450 Park Avenue, 12th floor. He walked 43 blocks because the subway cost money. People in business suits rushed past him, not seeing him. A doorman stood at the glass building's entrance. Daniel looked down at his faded red T-shirt, his worn sneakers, his dirty backpack. He didn't belong here, but his mother's voice echoed, "He set something up, Daniel, something to take care of you." "Excuse me," the doorman said. "Can I help you?" "I need to go to the 12th floor, Wellington and Associates. Do you have an appointment?" "No, sir, but I have this." Daniel pulled out the envelope with the red wax seal. The doorman's eyes widened at the Rashford family crest. "Elevators are to your left." A receptionist in a cream suit looked up, startled. "Can I help you?" "I need to see Henry Wellington. It's about the Rashford estate." "Do you have an appointment?" "No, ma'am, but my grandfather was Edward Rashford. He left me instructions." She picked up the phone, whispering urgently. A minute passed, then 2. Finally, she hung up. "Mr. Wellington will see you. Conference room 3, down the hall, last door on the right." Daniel walked down a corridor lined with oil paintings. At the end, he found the door. Voices came from inside, male voices, laughing. He took a deep breath and pushed the door open. The laughter stopped. 3 men in expensive suits sat behind a glossy white table. The man on the left wore a blue suit and a white traditional headdress, Khalid Rashford. In the center sat Henry Wellington, gray-haired in a navy suit. On the right was James Cooper, younger, in a charcoal suit, his hand resting on his chin. Behind Daniel, a woman in a housekeeping uniform stood frozen. Rosa wore a black dress with a white apron, yellow cleaning gloves still on her hands. The 3 men looked at Daniel, at his faded red T-shirt, at his dirty backpack with the duct-taped strap. Khalid's face shifted from confusion to amusement. Daniel stepped forward, his heart pounding. "I came to claim my inheritance." Silence hung in the air for 3 seconds. Then Khalid erupted into laughter. It was loud, mocking, cruel. He slapped the table twice, his whole body shaking. "Oh, this is priceless. Did you lose a bet, kid? Who sent you here?" Daniel didn't react. He reached into his backpack and pulled out a sealed envelope with a red wax stamp. He slid it across the table toward Henry Wellington. "My name is Daniel Williams. My mother was Margaret Rashford. She died 2 years ago. My grandfather was Edward Rashford. Before he died, he left instructions for me." Henry's expression changed instantly. He recognized the seal. His hand trembled as he picked up the envelope. Khalid's laughter faded, but his smirk remained. "Margaret? Eddie's daughter who ran off? Boy, even if that story's true, Edward Rashford wouldn't leave a dime to some—" "Khalid, be quiet." Henry's voice was sharp. Henry broke the seal carefully. James leaned in to read over his shoulder. The room went silent, except for rustling paper. Daniel waited, gripping his backpack straps. The same straps his mother had gripped on her way to work every morning. Henry looked up at Daniel, his stern face softening. "Son, do you understand what this document means?" "It means my grandfather wanted me to have something," Daniel said quietly. "It means Even though he never met me, he thought about me." James cleared his throat, reading from the papers. "According to the terms set by Edward Rashford, witnessed and notarized by this council 8 years ago, the trust fund of $47 million, plus 3 properties held in the family name, the Connecticut estate, a commercial building in Manhattan, and a vacation home in Cape Cod, plus Edward's personal collection and effects, are to be transferred to Daniel Williams, biological grandson, upon verification of identity. Wellington and Associates serves as trustee until he reaches age 21. "No!" Khalid shot to his feet, slamming his fist on the table. "I was his brother. I worked with him for 30 years. I'm entitled to—" "You're entitled to what the will specifies," Henry said calmly. $15 million in liquid assets and a 30% stake in Rashford Oil Consulting. The properties and the majority of the trust go to Daniel." Khalid's face turned red. "Based on what? Some kid shows up with a letter? Where's the proof? I'll contest this. There's no way." James held up a small vial from the envelope. "Edward provided a DNA sample before his death, stored with our firm. We also have Margaret Rashford's birth certificate, hospital records, and documented proof that Edward spent the last decade trying to locate her through 4 different investigative agencies." "He disowned her!" Khalid shouted. "And he regretted it every single day," Henry said firmly. "I was Edward's attorney for 37 years. He spoke about Margaret constantly. By the time he found her, she was dying of cancer. She refused to see him. He never got to apologize." Daniel felt his chest tighten. His mother never told him that his grandfather had tried to find them. Khalid stared at Daniel, really looking at him for the first time. The shape of the eyes, the jawline, the stubborn expression that was unmistakably Rashford. He sank back into his chair. "We'll need official DNA verification," James said more gently now. "But based on the documentation and the physical resemblance, this appears legitimate." "What happens now?" Daniel asked. Henry organized the papers. "We verify the DNA. Takes about a week. We establish guardianship. You're in foster care?" "Yes, sir. The Hendersons in Brooklyn." "We'll arrange proper housing immediately. The trust provides monthly distributions for all your needs. Housing, food, education, health care. You'll receive $5,000 per month until you turn 21, with additional funds available for emergency expenses. You won't return to foster care." Daniel's legs felt weak. 2 years of survival, of going to bed hungry, of wearing the same 3 shirts, suddenly over. Rosa, the cleaning woman still standing in the doorway, spoke softly. "I knew your grandfather, sweetie. Mr. Rashford was a kind man. He kept a picture of your mama on his desk for 20 years. He talked about her all the time." Daniel turned to her. "He did?" "Every day I cleaned his office, he'd tell me a story about her, about the time she learned to ride a bike, about her piano recitals. He loved her so much." Khalid looked away, his jaw clenched. "After she left," Rosa continued, "he was never the same. Always sad, always looking at that picture." Daniel pulled a worn photograph from his backpack. It showed a young Margaret holding a newborn. On the back, in his mother's handwriting, "Daniel, 3 days old. He has your eyes, Dad. I wish you could meet him." He placed it on the table. Khalid stared at it, his brother's eyes looking up from his grandson's face. The grandchild Edward died longing to meet. "I don't want to fight anyone," Daniel said. "I just want what my grandfather wanted me to have, and I want to make my mom proud." Henry nodded slowly. "You already have, son." coming here alone took courage. James added, "We'll arrange everything. New housing, school enrollment, a trust officer to help manage distributions. You'll never have to worry about money again." Khalid finally spoke, his voice hollow. "He never cried in front of me, not once in 30 years. Because you never gave him a reason to," Henry said quietly. The room fell silent. Rosa stepped closer to Daniel and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Welcome home, baby." Daniel Williams, 12 years old, wearing a faded red T-shirt, carrying a dirty backpack held together with duct tape, nodded. He'd come to claim his inheritance, and he'd found something he thought was lost forever: family,